So if you've been watching the news recently, then you will know there's a lot going on when it comes to our finances and the economy in general, whether it's the high inflation, the energy crisis, or the fact that interest rates have been going up. But at the same time, you might be thinking, do you know what? I still want to be able to save money. Even though there might be a lot going on, is it possible for me to still save money? And if so, how can I do it? Well, in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 3 things that you could be doing to save more money despite everything going on when it comes to the economy. And the reason why I say that is because currently we've still been able to save money and my clients have been able to save money too. So if you want to find out more, then keep on watching. Now, before I talk about the 3 points, I do want to give a quick disclaimer and say that when I'm talking about, the ability to save money, I'm really coming from a place where you actually have a decent income and you also have a kind of consistent income as well. So if you're someone who maybe has a low income and you've been struggling before all of this inflation, then your priority is probably going to be to increase that income to the point where you can eventually save money. All right, so the first thing you can do to start saving more money is to have a vision and start creating a plan. Now, I know that some people have probably mentioned this before, but I really want you to start thinking about your vision. So particularly for me as a person of faith, what I decided to do was almost ask God, what does he want me to do in this life? What is my God-given purpose? And how does my vision align with everything? And with that overall vision, I felt like a part of that had to do with my finances. And in particular, I had the idea of becoming financially independent. And so when I started thinking about financial independence and what that meant for me, that actually helped me to save more money. Now, in case you're not really sure what financial independence means, for me, it's the ability to be secure in my finances where I don't necessarily have to work in order for me to have that financial security. So I don't necessarily have to trade time for money in order to pay for my expenses. Rather, I would have assets that will actually pay for my expenses instead. And if you're liking this video so far, then feel free to give me a thumbs up as it really does help to support the channel. Plus, I'm sure you know, it's free. So once I clarified my vision and what I should be working towards, that helped me to save more money because in order for me to become financially independent, I would need to learn how to save money. And that is where having a plan can be really useful. So the reason why having a vision and then creating a plan can help you save more money is because you will then start to understand why you need to save money and why it then becomes important for you. And then suddenly saving money will become a priority. I think for a lot of us, the reason why we struggle to save money is because it's not really a priority for us. Like, it's a nice to have, but we don't necessarily see it as a necessity. And the reason why we don't see it as a necessity is because we don't really know why we want to save money in the first place. We don't really understand why it would actually benefit us. So for example, whenever I'm talking to my clients, I really get them to be clear on what they are actually working towards. So if, let's say, you're trying to work towards financial independence, or let's say you're trying to buy your first home, what I would be asking is, what is buying your first home going to mean for you? Is it because you really want that security so that eventually when you actually pay your mortgage off, you don't have to worry about any other payments? Or is it because you would love to be able to settle somewhere where you can raise a family? No matter what it is, if you can really identify what's more important for you and actually think about your vision, you're more likely to then save more money if you can create a plan for it and then connect the two. So connect how saving will help you achieve that goal. So what I find is that when my clients realize why they're actually saving that money and how it's going to help them work towards the destination they're trying to get to, saving money then becomes a lot more important to them. Now, if creating a plan is something that's on your mind, I do have a free money management guide where it just talks about some of the steps you could potentially take when you're planning for your financial future. So make sure you do check that out if you haven't already. I'll make sure it's linked up here for you and in the description below. Now, the next thing you can do to start saving more money is to plan out your finances. Just an FYI, when I'm talking about planning finances, yes, part of that is going to mean budgeting, but I didn't necessarily want to say that first because I don't want you to leave this video, okay? So what I've realized is that many people actually avoid this step. If you're trying to save more money, you will probably want to plan out your finances, and it's actually going to be really important, and I want to explain why. So it's a lot harder for you to understand how much you can save if you don't understand what your expenses come to. So if you do not realistically understand how much you are spending on your expenses, it's going to be more difficult for you to understand how much you can realistically save. And I know that's maybe something that you don't want to hear, but I'm going to be honest. So let's use my previous example. Let's say that as part of your plan, it's to buy your first home, and maybe you've even got a timeline. You would love to buy your first home within the next 2 years. So obviously you're going to figure out how much you need to save for a deposit and fees and things like that. Well, in order for you to achieve that goal, what you'll need to do is then figure out how much you should be saving to get to that point. So let's say within the next 2 years, you need to have saved about 30k for your deposit and fees. So that is going to give you an indication in terms of how much you might need to be saving, maybe per week, per month, or per quarter, in order for you to reach that goal. However, that is only one part of the equation. The next thing you'll need to think about is whether you can realistically reach that goal, and you will only understand that once you've actually planned out your finances. So once you've looked at your expenses. So using that example, if we're saying that within the next 2 years you would love to have saved up 30 grand, well, that means that logically you would want to save about 15 grand each month. And if you divide that by 12, so let's say that you want to understand how much you should be saving per month, well, that's going to be 1,250. So when you look at that number, you then have to question whether that's going to be realistic. For you, it may not be realistic based on your current income, but you won't understand that until you've actually planned out your finances and you understand what your expenses come to. Because once you've done that, that's when you can now make the decision. So let's say, for example, you realize that you plan out your expenses and you create a budget, and you find that actually you're only able to probably save about 1,000 a month. Well, then that means that either you're going to have to extend your timeline, or you could potentially make more money. And let's say you want to try and make an extra 250 a month to help you then work towards that goal. But you won't necessarily understand that until you've actually had a look at your expenses and had a look at your finances. So when I'm always harping on about budgeting, it is not because it's just something that you should do and I think that you should just have a budget and that's it. No, the reason why I harp on about budgeting is because if you have certain financial goals, or if you want to really be in check with your finances, then budgeting is going to be one of the key vehicles that will help you do that. This is why I always say I don't budget for the sake of budgeting. I budget because I have a reason for it. I budget because it helps me to save money, and saving money is going to help me work towards one of my goals of being financially independent. So hopefully you can kind of see how things start to link and the reasons why I do certain things. It's not just because it's a nice to have, but it's because I'm working towards something for a particular purpose. Now, if you've maybe struggled with budgeting in the past, or it's something that you've just never really done before, then make sure you do check out many of my videos where I talk about budgeting in so much more detail. So I'll be sure to link one up here for you and in the description below. Now, the next thing you can do to save more money is to be consistent and never give up. Now, I will be the person to tell you that when it comes to saving money, it is not easy, okay? So when I first started trying to save money, I made so many mistakes along the way, and it took me about 6 months to really start gaining momentum when it came to saving money. But one of the things I realized is that the reason why I can save money so easily today is because I kept being consistent. So even though I was dipping into my savings sometimes because I would never plan for any upcoming expenses, that didn't stop me from trying to save. Actually, what it did is made me realize my mistakes and learn from it and then work on improving it. And so because I kept doing that for a good 6 months, after that, saving money actually became much more easier for me because I'd realized that I finally mastered the art of saving money. And I'm gonna be honest, when I first started trying to save money, I had no idea what I was doing. And at times I would almost give up, because let's say that I tried to save 200 in a month and I was so happy because I thought I'd saved that much. A couple of weeks later, I would find out that my car insurance was due, and so I would then end up having to use the money that I saved to pay for the car insurance, meaning that I was back at level 0. And when that happened a few times, that's when I realized that actually, what if I just started saving for some of those expenses and make sure I had money set aside for them, so that after, any other money I had could then be saved towards my my other financial goals. But I would never realize that if I wasn't consistent and if I had given up. So because I still kept doing it and still kept doing a lot of trial and error on the way, I was then able to fix the problem, and that helped me to save a lot more money. Now, if you realize that you would absolutely love to save more money, but for some reason it just hasn't happened yet, and maybe you're trying to save so that you can finally reach financial independence or even save up for your first home, then make sure you do check out my one-on-one coaching if you would love more support with that, because I've been able to help clients save over 20% more just on their current income. So if you are interested, you can book a free call to find out more. So I'll link more information up here for you and in the description below. So if you did like this video, then please do give me a thumbs up if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments, do you have any savings goals? I do post every Tuesday, so if you would like to know more, then of course you can subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys next Tuesday.